Part 49. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 481. Ningfei chuckled. Hey, we don't have to run away now, let's wait and watch the show. Who is the master of Tongtian Sword Mountain? Is he very powerful? Suren was puzzled. Of course, you know 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace, right? One Dao Immortal Palace has 10,000 spiritual mountains, and each spiritual mountain has a mountain owner. And these mountain masters are at least close to the strength of the upper ninth realm. The mountain master of Tongtian Sword Mountain, among these mountain masters, his strength ranks among the top 3. The people from the 10,000 Soul sect are not enough for him to kill, and even the immortal treasure is useless. Suren nodded, and then said deliberately. Brother Ning seems to know the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace very well. When Ningfei heard this, he coughed slightly and said, this kind of thing is not a big secret. Most people in Tianyu know about it. Suren let out a long sigh. While the two were talking, Dehua looked at Ningfei's back with a trace of doubt in her eyes. At such a young age, he can face off against a strong man from the older generation like the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect, and he possesses the Fiwa order and is so familiar with the heaven realm. In Tianyu, there are not many such people selected. Dehua thought carefully for a while, then suddenly her eyes narrowed and she was shocked and said. Could it be him? Yes, who else but him has this kind of strength? Dehua looked at Suren next to Ningfei. Only Suren's identity could not be guessed by her because Suren was obviously not from Tianyu. But at such a young age, he could become friends with the person in front of him, and he seemed to be stronger than Ningfei. She really didn't understand how Suren practiced. At this time, high in the sky, most of the black mist had been destroyed by the sword light, and the disciples of the 10,000 Soul sect were cut down in pieces by the sword light. When the leader of the 10,000 Soul sect saw this scene, he roared with great anger. Shen Yunfan, you are looking for death. Above the clouds, the owner of Tongtian Sword Mountain, dressed in white, stood floating with a snow-white long sword in his hand. The corners of his clothes were blowing in the breeze, and Shen Yunfan's whole body was as graceful as an immortal. Facing the roar of the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect, Shen Yunfan said calmly. You can come up here and try to see if you can kill me. How could the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect endure such ridicule, and directly waved the 10,000 Souls flag to kill him. Thousands of ghosts devouring souls. Black mist and dark wind spurted out from the 10,000 Souls flag, and countless ghosts were mixed in the black mist, howling and killing the master of Tongtian Sword Mountain. Shen Yunfan flicked the sword in his hand, and then stabbed it down. This sword is called Zhu Xian. Today I will not kill the immortals and gods, but first the yin ghosts. Black and white merge together to form a unique landscape. But this scenery is deadly. Roar. All the ghosts howled together, but in the end they were no match for that white sword light. Shen Yunfan's sword directly tore a crack in the black mist and pointed directly at the leader of the 10,000 Soul sect holding a banner below. Impossible, why did you become so strong? The leader of the 10,000 Soul sect sounded shocked and angry. Oh, how can a person like you who hides in the darkness understand the light of the Supreme Avenue? They failed to kill you 1,000 years ago. Today, I will personally kill you. The sword in Shen Yunfan's hand was even brighter. With this sword, he would directly kill the leader of the 10,000 Soul sect here. The leader of the 10,000 Soul sect was full of panic at this time. He knew that he could not dodge this sword, and the 10,000 Souls banner could not save him. Master Protector, save me. The leader of the 10,000 Soul sect shouted anxiously. Call out. A mysterious and unpredictable sword flew from the sky. Shen Yunfan's immortal killing sword had already pierced the face of the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect, but it was still blocked by the sword. Shen Yunfan frowned and sheathed his sword. This sword was blocked by a huge force and he couldn't penetrate it. This is the power of cause and effect. Shen Yunfan looked to the other side and saw a man covered in black robes standing there looking at him. Who did I think he was? It turns out to be the Zhou Guardian of the Wushuan Alliance. I thought I could only kill one little devil today, but I didn't expect that I could kill a big one. Shen Yunfan, I have the Karma sword in my hand, do you think you can kill me? Oh, that's not certain. After Shen Yunfan finished speaking, he thrust out his sword. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of the Zhou Guardian. I told you, you can't kill me. Stand behind me. De Hua nodded to Suren. Suren stretched out his hand and shook it gently, and Duan Wei suddenly let out a scream. But when Duan Wei saw this, he directly attacked him with a sword from behind. Brother Su, you block the others, and I will hold back the leader of the 10,000 souls section. You go ahead and kill those people below, and I'll hold Shen Yunfan back. He knew that Protector Zhou could not delay for long, and he would not hold back this time. Protector Zhou held a sword and fought with Shen Yunfan in the sky. Everyone saw only the flashing light of the sword, but no one could be seen. Suren did not take the initiative. Suren nodded upon hearing this. But Suren won't do that now. Humph, if it's the real Karma sword, I can't do anything to you. How dare you act arrogantly in front of me with a fake sword that has some power of karma? The unpredictable sword from the entrance just now flew in again and stopped the Zuxian sword. At this time, Ningfei was fighting with the leader of the 10,000 souls sect, and he could still be entangled for a while with his natural divine body. Suren glanced at Peach Blossom Girl. She was too young and had not had enough time to practice. Although she came from the main building of Beiwa Tower, her strength was still a bit lacking. After the leader of the 10,000 souls sect finished speaking, he led Duan Wei, the great elder beside him, to kill towards the main peak of the Nanli sword sect. Thanks. Hearing the screams behind him, Ningfei looked back. Ningfei didn't have time to think about what just happened, because the leader of the 10,000 souls sect saw Duan Wei's death and had already used the damaged 10,000 souls flag again. If Shen Yunfan had not come, Suren would definitely take action and kill all the members of the Wanhun sect with one sword. He had to go to the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace. Exposing his strength too early would definitely make Shen Yunfan notice him, which would be detrimental to him getting the void mirror fragments in the future. At this time, without Shen Yunfan's obstruction, the leader of the 10,000 souls sect became arrogant again. The real Karma sword must be in the hands of the Wushuan Alliance. Countless blood burst out of Duan Wei's body, directly bursting his body, and soon his body fell from the air. Shanshan Master Shen will be back soon. Once the direction is determined, everything is easy to say. Suren stood still and did not move. On the main peak of Nanli sword sect, when Suren first saw the sword, Suren thought it was the Karma sword after hearing Shen Yunfan's words, and almost snatched it. Suren was always paying attention to the situation at Ningfei's side and saw Duan Wei taking action. However, most of the Wanhun sect disciples who dared to rush in front of Suren didn't understand how they died. After being exposed, Guardian Zhou did not panic. Instead, he took the time to give instructions to the people of Wanhun sect, saying, "However, it doesn't matter if it's true or false, at least the appearance of this false cause and effect sword proves one thing." However, the system did not issue a prompt, which made Suren realize that the sword was fake. As the two parties rushed together to fight, the surroundings suddenly heard loud shouts of killing. "Kill all the disciples of the 10,000 souls sect. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife." Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 482. Although the 10,000 soul banner was damaged just now, it was not something Ningfei could deal with his bare hands. Seeing this, Suren had to help him again. Just as the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect was about to wave the 10,000 Souls flag, his hand paused inexplicably, as if he was being controlled by someone. Not only his hands, but also his body, to be precise, it was the water in his body that controlled his entire body in place. Ningfei saw that the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect was suddenly stunned. He would not let go of such a good opportunity to take action. Boom! A solid punch sent the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect flying to the ground. Boom! There was another loud noise, and the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect was struck and his entire body was embedded in the rocks. At this time, the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect finally felt that he had regained control of his body. After breaking free from the rocks, the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect spit out a mouthful of blood. He had been punched alive by Ningfei just now, and the feeling was really unpleasant. However, compared to Ningfei, the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect was more afraid of the person who secretly attacked him, so he scanned the surrounding area vigilantly. He felt something was wrong when the Great Elder suddenly died suddenly. Now he felt that something was wrong even more. Someone had been helping that kid secretly. And he doesn't know where the other person is or who he is. This kind of enemy hidden in the dark is the most terrifying. Even if he holds the 10,000 soul banner, he feels insecure. No, I have to leave. This guy has been secretly watching me. If I am controlled by him again, Ningfei can kill me. The leader of the 10,000 soul sect stood up to leave, but as soon as he raised his feet, his body once again refused to obey his orders and became stiff. Huh? Still coming. Damn it. Boom. The leader of Wanhun sect took another punch from Ningfei. Ningfei was still wondering why this old guy acted like a child with dementia, as if he was stupid. Did he just be injured by Master Shen Shan? That's why his reaction became so slow. No. Something feels wrong. The leader of the 10,000 soul sect wants to cry now, but he can't. Now he doesn't even listen to his words for tears. He couldn't stand it anymore, that man was just playing tricks on him. The man in the dark could control him at will, which meant that it was easy for the other party to kill him. He has now completely become Ningfei's target and cannot leave even if he wants to. When Ningfei wanted to add a punch for the third time, Shen Yunfan's voice came from the sky. Don't kill him, leave him alive. High above the sky, Protector Zhou of the Wushuan Alliance covered the sword wound on his chest and glanced hastily at the retained leader of the 10,000 Souls sect. He had bought so much time for the people of the 10,000 Souls sect, but he did not expect that the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect was so useless that he was pushed to the ground and beaten violently by a young man. Waste. The Protector Zhou of the Wushuan Alliance cursed angrily, threw away the false karma sword in his hand and ran away alone. Shen Yunfan wanted to chase after him, but the fake cause and effect sword exploded after it approached. Shen Yunfan frowned and dodged away. When he looked at the left guardian again, he had already escaped without a trace. It's a pity he got away. Shen Yunfan took one step forward, and the next moment he appeared in front of the master of the 10,000 Souls sect. At this time, the disciples of Wanhun sect saw that the situation was over and could not help but run away everywhere. Shen Yunfan glanced coldly, and the immortal killing sword in his hand turned into thousands of sword lights. Puff puff. All the disciples of the 10,000 Souls sect who wanted to escape were pierced by the sword light, and their bodies fell to the ground. Shen Yunfan withdrew his sword, first looked at the master of the 10,000 Souls sect lying on the ground, and then looked at Ningfei. Compared to the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect, this young man interested him more. At such an age, he can stand alone as the leader of a sect. Either they are old monsters who have good looks, or they are those peerless young geniuses. Ningfei saw Shen Yunfan looking at him, his mouth moved slightly, and he said a few words through the sound transmission of his spiritual consciousness. After hearing this, Shen Yunfan suddenly understood. It turns out it's you, Kid. Go back early and don't play outside for too long. Ningfei nodded. Both parties were communicating, and others did not know what they said. At this time, many sect saints who came to watch the battle came over. Thank you, Master Shen Shan, for taking the initiative, otherwise we might have died here today. Thank you very much, Master Shen Shan, for your life-saving grace. Shen Yunfan nodded slightly, reached out and grabbed the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect and the 10,000 Souls flag and flew away from this place. After Shen Yunfan left, everyone looked at the mess on the ground and couldn't help but sigh. What a great sword discussion conference, but it ended up like this. Is there anyone alive in the Nanli sword sect? My supreme sword embryo hasn't been given to me yet. Ningfei shouted loudly. However, no one responded to him. The rebellion of the great elder of Nanli sword sect resulted in heavy casualties. The few remaining disciples were still immersed in the sadness of losing their fellow disciples, so they had no mood to care about him. The others were also speechless for a while. The sect has become like this, and you are still thinking about the sword embryo. But if it weren't for Ningfei, they would have been killed by the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect just now. So everyone was too embarrassed to say anything. Ningfei shouted around, but when no one paid attention to him, he couldn't help but sigh. After working hard for a long time, I didn't catch any shit. Who is that? Stop. Ningfei quietly touched the holy Sun Kanyu who was about to slip away. Boy, are you the one who mocked me and my brother? Ningfei grabbed it and said with a smile. My eldest brother, I didn't. I was wronged. Hey, you're wronged. You think I'm deaf? Then what do you want? Holy Sun Kanyu was extremely frightened now. He could clearly see how Ningfei was punching the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect just now. If he had been punched, he would have been lying there on the spot. Do you have any spiritual stones on you? Ningfei glanced at him up and down and asked. A little bit. A little? If you don't come up with 1.8 million today, you won't be able to leave. Ah. Brother, aren't you trying to kill me? I don't have so many spiritual stones. I'll give you everything, including my weapons. Please spare me. Holy Sun Kanyu took out all the things in his space ring at once. In the end, he felt it wasn't fast enough, so he gave all the space rings to Ningfei. Brother, I gave it all to you. I didn't leave anything behind. I gave you all my underwear. Ugh, that's disgusting. Ningfei only took the spirit stones and some valuable things, and returned everything else to him. Okay, go away and be polite to us two brothers next time you see us. Yes, I'll get out right away. Holy Sun Kanyu nodded quickly as if he had been pardoned, and ran down the mountain in a hurry. Ningfei took the spirit stone and walked to Suren. Brother Su, give you half of that boy's compensation. Suren reached out and took it without being polite at all. By the way, Brother Su, did you find out who was behind the scenes just now? I always feel that something is wrong with the master of the 10,000 Souls section. Ningfei asked, staring at Suren. I don't know, I haven't moved since I was standing here. Hearing this, the peach blossom girl standing behind Suren looked at Suren in surprise. If she read it correctly just now, Suren took action. But why doesn't he admit it? Suren turned around at this time, looked at Dehua and said. Did Miss Peach Blossom see who took action? Ah. Dehua was stunned for a moment, then shook her head. Since Suren didn't want to talk, she didn't dare to expose Suren. Anyway, these two brothers have secrets. She thought it was better for her to remain neutral so that no one would be offended. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 483. That's really weird. Ningfei scratched his head and was confused. There was also Duan Wei who attacked him but died for no reason. Forget it, Mr. Ning and Mr. Su, let's leave quickly. De Hua glanced at the sect leaders and saints who had not yet recovered. There is another thing that is much bigger than what happened just now. Fortunately, the master of Tongtian Sword Mountain left just as quickly as he came. If he were still here, things would be even more difficult. But I haven't gotten the sword embryo yet. Ningfei is still thinking about his reward. At this time, the holy landlord among the crowd suddenly remembered something, and then looked straight at Suren and others. They seemed to have arrested the two worldly walkers from the ruthless palace. De Hua covered her forehead when she heard this. Still remembered. After being reminded by the Holy Lord, others also thought about it. You guys stop and hand over the two walking men. For the sake of that little friend who just helped us fight against the master of the 10,000 Souls sect, as long as you let him go, we can let you go without forgetting the blame. Yes, let him go quickly. Everyone spoke and stopped the three of them. Suren's expression turned cold. I will kill anyone who dares to stop me. You can come over and try. As soon as these words came out, everyone suddenly felt a chill on their backs. For some reason, they felt an inexplicable fear. It seemed like this man actually had the power to kill them. Suren, let me out and I'll explain to them. Ling Qingxiu suddenly spoke. She doesn't like killing, and she doesn't like seeing Suren killing for her. Whether these people are afraid of Wu Wuju Palace's investigation or they are afraid of Wu Qingju Palace's master. After all, it was to save her and Mu Hongxia. In a sense, they were right. Seeing Suren's hesitation, Ling Qingxiu said softly, don't worry, I won't leave. Good. Suren released her from the little world. Ling Qingxiu suddenly appeared, surprising everyone again. Ningfei couldn't help but glance at Suren. I'll go, brother Su, you have a treasure on you, you can actually hide people. Things like space rings can only release dead objects, not living people. To be able to release a living person, you need at least a treasure above the immortal treasure. That's why Ningfei was surprised. After Ling Qingxiu came out, she looked at the people who stopped the three people and said, we have something to discuss with Suren. We are not being arrested under any force. Everyone, please get out of the way. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at each other and then made way for a passage. Now that Xing himself has come out to explain, they won't stop him anymore. What happens in the future is none of their business, they have already done what they should do. After seeing everyone move aside, Ling Qingxiu nodded gently to Suren. Suren took her back into the small world again. Ningfei's eyes widened. Firstly, he was envious of Suren's treasure. Such a beautiful woman can do it, as expected of you, brother Su. And the palace lord who is ruthless and cruel is still in the human body, it's exciting just thinking about it. De Hua heard Ling Qingxiu's explanation and breathed a sigh of relief. If she was involved in this matter, she wouldn't be able to run away. Fortunately, she walked voluntarily, so nothing would happen to her. However, after hearing Ningfei's words, De Hua couldn't help but remind her. Ahem, Mr. Ning, if you continue to speak so openly, are you really not afraid of death? Ningfei was speechless for a moment. I just said it casually, don't take it seriously. Suren looked at him and shook his head. Let's go down the mountain. Ningfei, the sword embryo, couldn't get it, and there weren't many people left in the Nanli sword section. If he went to get it again, it would be like taking advantage of the situation. Although it was indeed what he deserved, who asked him to be treated so badly? On the way down the mountain, Ningfei asked. Brother Su, where should we go next? Suren thought for a while and said, King Guiju Palace, brother Ning, do you want to go with us? When Ning Fiyu heard this, his steps slipped and he rolled down the stone steps. Suren looked at his figure rolling away with a smile, and then looked at Peach Blossom Girl. Su, Mr. Su, don't look at me. I don't know anything. I'm going back to the main building when I get off the mountain. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not inviting you to go, but I want to ask you something. Isn't your Beiwa building famous for its intelligence? You should know this. What happened? Dehua was a little nervous, fearing that Suren would ask about something shocking. She is now afraid of these two people. Both of them are the kind of people who talk freely and do whatever they say. Ning Fiyu also knows how to restrain himself. The person in front of me is not afraid at all. I would like to ask why Wandeo Immortal Palace and Wushuan Alliance fought back then. Dehua breathed a sigh of relief when she heard that this was the question. Actually, this matter started with the hole that appeared in the sky. According to records, a gap appeared in the sky about 6,000 years ago. The emergence of this gap caused the rapid loss of spiritual energy in the sky, and its expansion speed has become faster and faster since its appearance. In just a few years, this gap has formed a huge hole, and this hole can swallow everything, like a beast that can never be fed. And the generation of spiritual energy in the heaven realm also started to slow down from that time. Under the mutual influence of the two, the environment of Tianyu began to deteriorate. At that time, there were two major forces in the Tianyu territory, each accounting for half of the country. These two forces were the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace and the Wushuan Alliance. As for the hole in the sky, they worked together to discuss a solution, but in the end the two sides had conflicting opinions and the negotiation failed. Why didn't the deal come to fruition? Suren asked. Because the solutions proposed by both sides are different, no one can convince the other. Wandeo Immortal Palace advocates collecting resources in the sky to mend the sky, and wants to completely repair the holes in the sky. The Wushuan Alliance advocates using resources to cultivate and strengthen yourself so that you can cope with the disasters caused by the heavens falling in the future. Both sides had their own opinions, but before the hole was repaired, they started fighting. You also know the result. The Wushuan Alliance was defeated and withdrew and disappeared in the sky. Suren heard this and asked again. So, has the hole been repaired? Dehua shook her head. It can't be repaired. The repair speed is not as fast as the hole is expanding. For this reason, 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace has caused great anger and resentment. In order to collect more resources, Wandeo Immortal Palace has imposed higher taxes, which are increasing every year, and now, they are increasing every month. Everyone knows that Wandeo Immortal Palace does this to compensate for the genius, but this has affected the interests of many people. They gradually feel that the Wushuan Alliance was right back then, and they should use resources to strengthen themselves to fight against the disaster. Instead, resources are wasted endlessly on patching the sky like now. I heard that there are different opinions even within the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace. I have a question, the universe is so big, why can't we give up the sky and find another place to survive? I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 484. Dehua shook her head when she heard this. Do you think it's just a hole in the sky that swallows everything and annihilates everything? What's the meaning? The outer wasteland of the universe has been eroded by this inexplicable hole. Moreover, with the appearance of erosion, countless monsters swarmed out of the holes. They are impersonal and emotionless and will just eat everything they can see. Many galaxies have been completely eaten by them, not even the dregs are left. But they have a weakness, that is, they cannot go too far away from these holes. If they go too far, they will suddenly die suddenly. As for why, no one knows. Some people speculate that these monsters and caves have the same origin, and they live and die together. In recent years, most of the people from Wandeo Immortal Palace have been sent out to guard one side. The people who are left behind are repairing the holes in Tianyu and killing those monsters. So, do you know why we can't leave Tianyu? This is already the place with the most abundant spiritual energy in the universe. If you leave and give up here, everyone's cultivation speed will slow down a lot. In the end, everyone will die. Suren nodded. Unexpectedly, the dispute between the two major forces came from this. Master Su. Dehua suddenly stopped and glanced at Ningfeiyu, who had rolled down the mountain and was waiting for the two of them. What's wrong? Suren also stopped and looked at her. Dehua asked quietly. Do you know Mr. Ning's true identity? Judging from her appearance, Suren guessed that she had guessed it, so he didn't hide it. I know, the holy son of 10,000 Deo Immortal Palace, right? Dehua was a little surprised. She thought Suren didn't know Ningfeiyu's true identity. Then, does Mr. Su know his other identity? What other identity does he have? This matter, if Mr. Su really considers him a friend, I can tell you, but you just need to know it yourself. Seeing Tao Hua speak so solemnly, Suren couldn't help but said seriously, you say it? I discovered this incident by accidentally looking through the secret files in the main building. I couldn't tell you originally, but, I don't think Mr. Ning should have such an experience. As his friend, I think you should help him before I tell you. Actually, Mr. Ning is not a human being. Huh? What do you mean? Suren raised his head in surprise and glanced at Ningfeiyu, who was waving his arms to the two of them down the mountain. Looking at him like that, he seemed to be wondering why Suren and the two stopped and didn't leave. Well. Peach Blossom sighed. Master Ning's true body is the Nine Heavens Divine Stone. If you put it another way, you will understand. The Nine Heavens Divine Stone is also called the Sky Building Stone by the people of Wandeo Immortal Palace. Wandeo Immortal Palace discovered that this stone was of great use in mending the sky, so they found a way to make the stone absorb spiritual energy and use it to mend the sky. However, dead things are just dead things after all, and their efficiency is really poor. So someone proposed to cultivate a huge Nine Heavens Divine Stone into a spirit, then let it transform into a human being and cultivate to the top, and then use it to mend the sky. Thousands of years passed and they succeeded. Ningfeiyu actually doesn't have this name. His real name is Shining. At this time, Ningfeiyu stepped out in front of the two of them and looked at them suspiciously. What are you two doing standing here? As if thinking of something, Ningfeiyu screamed. Brother Su, Miss Peach Blossom, you don't look at each other anymore, right? Brother Su, I have to say something about you, you just accepted two beauties, and you don't even let the Peach Blossom girl go? You are a beast. Master Ning, what are you talking about? Peach Blossom's complexion is pink, and she looks like a peach blossom in full bloom at this time. Oh look, you're still blushing. You must have been right by me. Suren rolled his eyes at him. Don't talk nonsense, we just think the scenery from here is good, so we stopped to watch it for a while, that's all. Real. Ningfeiyu turned around and looked at the mountains in the distance. At this time, a group of flying birds passed by and made several cheerful chirps. When the flying bird passed over the heads of several people, a feather floated down. Ningfeiyu reached out to catch the feather and said with a smile. I really envy these birds. They can fly carefree and have no worries. Suren also smiled when he heard this. Brother Ning, I think you are much happier than them. Not only can you fly, you can also spend spiritual stones. Ha ha ha. Brother Su is right, let's go down the mountain and spend money. The three of them walked down the mountain talking and laughing, and no one chose to fly. Wandeo Immortal Palace, Wuliang Mountain. 5 or 6 mountain masters gathered here, including the mountain master of Tongtian Sword Mountain who had just returned. Why didn't he come back? I agree. Did he find the void mirror fragment? The mountain masters nodded. If this continues, Tianyu won't be able to support it for long. Xining. He returned to Tianyu. Forget it, let's not talk about him for now. Also, I met that kid Xining at Nanli Sword Section. At this time, the master of Mingguang Mountain said. In this case, immediately order the mountain masters guarding the border areas to return to the heaven realm immediately. Everyone, please keep an eye on all parts of Tianyu during this period, and don't let the people of the Wushuan Alliance cause trouble again. Yunfan, you don't have to go out during this period. You just need to pry open the mouth of the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect and ask him to reveal where the people from the Wushuan Alliance are hiding. Xining, this child has been naughty since he was a child. If he doesn't have fun, he will definitely not come back. Now the palace master is discussing with the martial god and the palace master of Wukingjuk Palace about the cave of that day. I wonder if there is any progress. Several other mountain owners also nodded when they heard this. In order to fight against the outside world, we must first pacify the inside. Let's destroy the remnants of the Wushuan Alliance first, so that we can better mend the sky. Seeing that everyone basically agreed, the owner of Wuliang Mountain also nodded and said. The mountain master of Wuliang Mountain looked at the other mountain masters. From what he said, only a quarter has been found, and there are no clues for the rest. The mountain masters excused themselves from each other and stood up to leave. We can only give up in the border wilderness. There are endless monsters and we can't kill them all. Anyway, they will die if they are too far away from the cave. There is not much point in our guarding. Recalling them will free up our energy to focus on solving the sky cave problem in the sky territory. Besides, it can't be lost in the heavenly realm. Everyone knew what the phrase "can't throw it away" meant, and no one said anything more. The master of Wuliang Mountain, Mo Dao Wen. After Shen Yunfan finished speaking, he continued. Thinking about Xining, Shen Yunfan couldn't help but sigh and shook his head. Okay, everyone, please disperse. Shen Yunfan nodded. What do you think? Well, I understand. Now that the Wushuan Alliance has taken the opportunity to stir up trouble again, I suggest that all the people sent to guard the border areas should be withdrawn to the heavenly territory. A mountain owner nodded. The Zhou Guardian of the Wushuan Alliance took my sword and ran away. The rest of the 10,000 Souls sect were all killed. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 485. Master Su, Master Ning, I'll take the first step and see you later. After returning to the town, De Hua left here with the maids waiting here. Ning Feiyu shook his head and said regretfully, Brother Su, it's such a pity that you didn't grasp such a stunning beauty in the world. She is still young now. If she grows up a little, she will be really beautiful. That's enough. What a pity you have. It's a pity that you didn't pick up others yourself. What does bubble mean? Ning Feiyu asked puzzledly. I understand, do you mean to take a bath together? Brother Su, it's you as expected. You're quite playful. I didn't notice it. Go away, Pao means pursued. What are you thinking about? At this time, Ning Feiyu suddenly said seriously. By the way, Brother Su, are you really going to Wukingjuk Palace? Suren nodded. I didn't really want to go originally, but who called you my brother? Today, I will accompany you to go crazy. In life, you have to go crazy once. Aren't you afraid of death? Suren asked curiously. Who is not afraid of death? But I want to see what the master of Wukingjuk Palace looks like. What's more, she probably won't kill me. It's you, Brother Su, who has taken over someone else's human body. I think it's you who should be worried. Ningfei teased Suren directly by learning and applying it. Also, I heard that Luo Yuxian is as beautiful as a celestial being and is the most beautiful woman in the world. Alas, it's a pity that I have never seen her in person. I have only seen her in some picture books. So this time for your happiness, brother, I will go with you. It's up to you, stay in this town for one night today, and I'll ask them how to get to Wukingju Palace first. Easy to say. At night, Suren's consciousness entered the small world and found that the two women were practicing around the Hongmeng purple energy, and there was an angry mirror spirit next to them. Suren, can you take care of your two wives? They will take my place as soon as they come here. That place has always been my territory. What nonsense are you talking about, you phantom? The two women's eyes turned cold and they stared at the phantom that the mirror spirit had transformed into and said, "Huh, that's what it is. If my body wasn't intact, I wouldn't be afraid of you too." Suren smiled and said, "That's no longer your territory from now on. You just need to step back. You. The mirror is extremely spiritual. You and your family just ganged up to bully me, right? I'm so angry with you. Otherwise, if you are not convinced, I will let you out. Let's go." The mirror spirit emerged from the void, took 2 steps, and then retreated. "Why don't you leave?" Suren looked at her with a smile. "Huh, if I leave, wouldn't it just make you wish you wanted? I'm not that stupid. You ask me to leave, but I won't leave. I'll suck all your purple energy into you before I leave." Jingling angrily flew behind the two women, breathing in the Hongmeng purple chi vigorously. But no matter how hard she exerted herself, so much energy would escape from the Hongmeng purple chi. Suren knew that she was reluctant to part with Hongmeng Ziki, so he was not afraid of her running away. "Suren, what is this purple energy? I feel it is easier to absorb than bloodstone. I also got the Hongmeng purple chi by accident." Hongmeng purple chi, the two girls were shocked when they heard this. Isn't this thing extinct long ago? At least they haven't heard of it? I don't know either. By the way, I want to ask you a question, how to get to King Guiuja Palace? The two women frowned when they heard this and said, "What are you doing in Kingju Palace?" As the human body of Luo Yuxian, although they do not hate Suren in their hearts, they will not tell Suren the location of the Wukingju Palace and how to enter it. So they were a little defensive about Suren's question. Seeing this scene, Suren sighed in his heart, she was not really Ling Qingxiu after all. If it was really Ling Qingxiu, she would definitely not be defensive about herself and would tell her everything she knew immediately. "I have to go to Wukingju Palace to give you the answer you want. Only then can I find the real you." The two women were silent. "Qingxiu, don't you really want to know what happened between us? I swear, I did all this for you. I have absolutely no intention of harming you. Please believe me, okay?" Ling Qingxiu frowned, as if she was struggling inside. "Suren, I trust you. Qingxiu, do you really want to tell him, the relationship between Mu Hongxia and Suren is not that deep?" Although she had liked Suren, she was no longer the original Mu Hongxia. Now she just doesn't hate Suren. "Well, I believe Suren will not lie to us. I trust my intuition." "You, forget it, I hope." Mu Hongxia stopped talking. Ling Qingxiu slowly spoke at this time. "The next entrance to the small world of King Guiuju Palace will appear near the Donghuang Martial Temple." Suren knew that Donghuang was one of the 5 major regions in the Tianyu. This was what Ningfei told him. Ling Qingxiu paused and continued. "At that time, we can personally open the entrance to the small world and let you in. However, please don't provoke the people from the Martial Temple. The Martial God and the Palace Master are powerful men of the same level. No one in the eastern wasteland dares to provoke the martial temple. Who said I'm scared? I just don't like that place. Tianjia mountain towers into the clouds and stretches endlessly. Early the next morning, Suren woke up Ningfiu. He held several doll masks in his hand. What? You dare to break into Wukingjuk Palace, but are you afraid of going to Donghuang? The two need to take a large teleportation array to the junction of the Southern Territory and the Eastern Wasteland, and then ride the flying monsters here to cross the Tianjia mountain. Suren nodded. However, if you want to cross the Tianjia mountain, even if you take a flying monster, you need to fly for 3 days. Suren looked at him and asked. Ningfiu's expression was a little ugly when he heard this. Teleportation is prohibited in Tianjia mountain, so you can only fly across it in the air. He, brother Su, come and let's have 2 of us. We'll need it when we go to the Eastern Wasteland. If you want to cross from the Southern Territory to the Eastern Wasteland, flying is definitely not possible. I finally finished 1 million words, and I finally finished the 10,000 word update on the last day of this month. To be honest, I was really tired. However, this is also the first million-word novel in my life, and it is also something worth remembering, and thank you all for your company and support along the way. I estimate it will be completed within a month. Have you asked, Brother Su? This is also the reason why the 2 of them didn't fly there by themselves. They were too tired and neither of them wanted to. But let me tell you first, don't shout my name randomly. I'm thinking about our safety. What else can you say? Let's go. Did you do something outrageous in Donghuang? Brother Su, when should we set off? Why don't you wait for me for a while and I'll go buy something? Well, I understand, you can continue practicing. How is that possible? I, Ningfiu, can be considered a righteous person after all. Anyway, it's not what you think. Donghuang. Well, I know how to get there, but are you familiar with Donghuang? Okay, I hope what you said is true. A quarter of an hour later, Ningfiu came back. Tianjia mountain, as a whole, is in the shape of an oblique X, dividing the entire heaven into 5 parts. Heh, he said you didn't do anything outrageous. Do we have to go to Donghuang? Can we change places? They are Eastern Wasteland, Southern Territory, Northern Plains, Western Desert, and Zhongzhou at the X-shaped intersection. Suren put the mask away casually. Suren looked at him doubtfully. Let's go, just go. With Ningfiu leading the way, the 2 of them had a smooth journey. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 486. The monster the 2 were riding on was called the World Bird, and it was a vehicle trained by monks to ferry passengers across Tianjia mountain. The World Bird is very large, with its wings spread over 100 meters. Its back is very broad and flat, and it can carry hundreds of people. A ride on the World Bird requires tens of thousands of spirit stones, and Suren naturally pays for it. Brother Su, this Tianjia mountain is the territory of monsters. It is said that there is a powerful demon emperor living in it. Ningfiu pointed at the mountains passing quickly below. Don't they attack humans passing by? If your breath is too weak, they will definitely attack you. If a strong person passes by, they are not stupid and will not attack. There is another way. If you ride on the World Bird, they will not attack. It seems that the monks who train the World Bird have an agreement with the big monster in the mountain. Suren nodded, then pointed at the many black spots swooping down in the sky and said. Then what do they mean? What are they? Ningfiu looked in the direction Suren pointed. Fuck. At this time, other people on board the World Bird also discovered these black spots. Everyone was a little flustered and said, "What happened? Didn't you say that demons won't attack world birds?" "Don't panic, everyone." The monk who controlled the world bird comforted everyone. "They should just be roads." Before he finished speaking, the world bird was frightened and flew down. But the speed of those black spots is obviously much faster than the boundary bird. When they got closer, everyone could clearly see their true appearance. These black spots have a hard black shell armor, 2 pairs of black wings, and 6 barbed legs. The most terrifying thing is their head, with red eyes and a mouth as sharp as a knife. This thing gave Suren the feeling of a beetle magnified hundreds of times. After seeing the appearance of these things clearly, Ningfei's face became a little unnatural and said, "This is an evil beast." "What? This is the evil beast? Are you sure?" The other monks on the world bird were obviously in disbelief when they heard this name. "Why does the evil beast appear here?" Everyone's expressions changed drastically, and the monk who controlled the world bird had no choice but to control the world bird to fly into the mountains below when he heard this word. What is an evil beast? Suren couldn't help but wonder when he saw everyone reacting violently after hearing this word. "Brother Su, have you ever heard of Tianko?" Suren nodded. This was what Miss Peach Blossom told him. The evil beast is the name of the monster that flies out of the cave. They devour everything they see, and they won't stop until they die. They bring disasters that destroy all things, so they are called evil beasts. The appearance of evil beasts here means that at least one cave has appeared in the sky at the top of Tianja Mountain. Suren looked up and saw that he couldn't see the sky from this position. He heard that it would take a long time to fly to reach the sky. Those evil beasts were in hot pursuit at this time, and seemed to have identified this huge world bird as food. The monk who controlled the world bird shouted loudly, "Everyone, we can't sit still and wait for death. If you try to attack them, I will control the world bird." After hearing this, everyone began to attack the chasing beasts from a distance. For a moment, smoke and dust filled the sky, and everyone's attacks hit the evil beast, but had little effect. This operation only angered the beasts, and the beasts pursued them faster. The hard carapace of the evil beasts can withstand attacks from the upper 5 realms and below. It is difficult to break through their defenses if they are below the upper 5 realms. After Ningfei finished speaking, he took action. I saw him leaping in the air and leaving the world bird and rushing towards the chasing beasts. "Hey, come back quickly." The monk who controlled the world bird shouted hurriedly when he saw this. "Isn't this just rushing out to find death?" Ningfei didn't listen to his words and punched him out. Boom! The sky was filled with golden light, and Ningfei seemed to have finally used the true power of his divine body at this moment. This power was never used in the battle against the leader of the 10,000 Souls sect. Ningfei looked at the corpses of evil beasts falling to the ground, and said in a voice that he could only hear, "My mission in this world is to put an end to you." The herd of evil beasts seemed to go on endlessly, one dead one was surrounded by another one. Suren tried to order the sky to stop, but it didn't listen to Suren's order at all and kept eating. Given Ningfei time, these evil beasts couldn't do anything to him, but Suren was still afraid that something would happen to him, so he had to take out his knife and kill him. After a hasty explanation, Suren's consciousness exited the small world. "What's going on? I can't control it." Seeing that it wanted to continue eating, Suren had no choice but to kill it on the spot. Ningfei glanced at the corpses of the evil beasts strangely, and then turned his attention to the back of the world bird. After the evil beast appeared in the small world, it was dazed for a moment, and then began to eat the earth in the small world. I want to see what the road cave looks like that day. Especially this young man with a knife. With just one knife, he killed all the terrifying beasts. This is an evil beast. Ling Qingxue frowned and looked at the evil beast that was still eating the earth. Wherever the sword light passed, the beasts fell from the sky to the ground like dumplings. At this time, Ningfei had been surrounded by the beasts and formed a ball. It seemed that Ningfei was more attracted to them than the boundary birds. Originally, when Suren heard about the heavenly cave, he didn't take it to heart. As long as he mastered the perfect words and deeds, what kind of problem was this? In just a few seconds, a huge pit appeared on the ground. Huh! What kind of strength is this? When Ningfei took action, Suren also took action, but he was using his animal catching skills. Although the two of them look young, they think that they are just good at keeping their looks. Judging from their strength, they must be extremely powerful old monsters. However, now it seems that I may have been a little too optimistic. Ningfei rushed left and right in the group of evil beasts and was quickly wrapped up. Thank you two seniors for taking the initiative. The evil beast's uncontrollability made him feel that things were not simple. The other monks on the world bird looked at the two people and were already stunned with shock. Ningfei's whole body was wrapped in golden light, looking extremely sacred. After Ningfei returned to normal, he flew back to the world bird. Suren said suddenly. Suren, how come this evil beast appears in your little world? Where are you now? Each of these two people is more energetic than the other. I should have thought of it earlier, you were the only one with that ability at the time. After several failures, Suren finally caught one. Brother Su, tell me honestly, did you secretly help me control the master of the 10,000 Souls sect? Everyone could only see wisps of golden light shining in the group of evil beasts, as well as the bodies of the evil beasts that kept falling downwards. Suren nodded towards him. Suren didn't answer his question and just smiled. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 487. Okay, I'll accompany Brother Su to have a look. After Ningfei finished speaking, he looked at the monk who controlled the world bird. You guys are waiting here for our return. A new cave has appeared. We can't just sit idly by when we see it. We must investigate it and report it to the superiors. Senior, don't worry, I'll wait for you here. If the two seniors hadn't taken action just now, I'm afraid we would have been killed by the evil beast. You two seniors, be careful all the way. The other monks also nodded and told the two to be careful. The two left the world bird and flew upwards. After almost half an hour, they finally arrived under the sky. Where it enters the eye, there is a color of chaos, and it becomes impossible to move forward further. Brother Su, there. Ningfei pointed to a location in the sky. The color of chaos there has disappeared, leaving only a dark hole several meters in diameter. The hole was so deep that it was impossible to see what was inside from the outside. Its characteristics seem to be somewhat the same as those of a black hole, but black holes have a strong attraction, and this sky cave has no attraction at all. While the two were observing, two more evil beasts came out of it. When they saw Suren and the two of them, these two evil beasts rushed over with red eyes. The two evil beasts were killed by Suren before they reached the halfway point. Has no one ever been in? Suren asked. Ningfei nodded. Yes, but he never came back, and within a breath of entering, the lifelight went out. The strongest person who entered was an old man who was nearing the end of his life. He was in the late stage of the upper ninth realm. And he was also equipped with a defensive fairy treasure. What's the result? Suren asked. In the late stage of the upper ninth realm, this is considered the peak strength of a monk. If placed anywhere, it would be at the level of a sect master. Ningfei shook his head and sighed. Even if you die, you won't even have a breath. No matter who you are, no matter what your strength is, if you enter the heavenly cave, you won't be able to survive for a breath. From now on, no one will dare to enter the sky cave and try again. There was one more thing Ningfei didn't say. When the Wushuan alliance was defeated, more than 1 million people were thrown into the heavenly cave by the 10,000 Deo immortal palace. However, no one came back alive. The sky cave is a restricted area for living beings. Except for those unconscious evil beasts, whoever goes there will die. After hearing this, Suren fell silent. He remembered what the old fisherman said to him. I can save the dead fish, but if the world dies, what should I do? The old fishing man's ability has already reached an incredible level. Even he can't do anything, so do he have to rely on himself? Suren didn't know that the only thing he could do now was to get back the memories of the 2 Linkingsya girls, and then find a way to complete the 8th level mission. Everything can only be said at that time. Brother Su, let's go back. I have recorded the location. When we get to Donghuang, I will tell the location information to the people in Wandao Immortal Palace. Suren nodded. The two returned the same way. Everyone who had been waiting for an hour couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when they saw the 2 men returning. 2 seniors, how big is the cave that day? It should have just appeared, only a few meters in size. When everyone heard this, they sighed. Being as powerful as the 10,000 Deo Immortal Palace can't change anything. Their strength is low, so what can they change? The only thing they can do is to pray that these caves will not expand too fast, and that someone will appear to save them. Let's go. The boundary bird carried everyone and flew to the eastern wasteland boundary. 2 days later, Suren and the 2 successfully arrived at a large city on the edge of the Tianjia mountain in the east wasteland, the city of 10,000 demons. Although the name is City of 10,000 Demons, the people inside are actually humans. It's just that this place was ruled by the demon clan in the past. After the human race occupied it, the place name has been used to this day. Brother Su, let's go, take you somewhere. Ning Feiyu had a proud expression on his face, seeming to have forgotten the solemnity he felt 2 days ago. Going to Beiwa building again. Hey, Brother Su, you know how to answer. Suren said speechlessly, aren't you going to report the news of the heavenly cave appearing in Tianjia mountain to Wandao Immortal Palace? Ning Feiyu nodded. That's right, Beihualu has information from all 5 regions. It's fastest to find them. Hee hee, you'd better not go drinking and having fun. Ning Feiyu chuckled. When you are alive, you must enjoy yourself in time. Then if I call Brother Ning's name on this street, how should Brother Ning respond? Hearing this, Ning Feiyu immediately fainted. After carefully looking around, Ning Feiyu put the baby-faced mask he bought on his face and whispered. Brother Su, you absolutely must not. To be honest, the saint of the martial arts temple and I had an emotional entanglement. You know that I am a free and easy person, but she insists on chasing me. Who can bear this? Oh, then when I get to the temple of martial arts, I have to find their saint and tell her about a certain unfaithful person. Suren took the stone and looked at it, then looked at him and asked. Brother Su, where are you going to the eastern wasteland? Okay, Brother Su. I'll wait for you outside. If you don't come out within a quarter of an hour, I'll shout your name on the street. The 2 came to the door of Beiwa Tower, and Ning Feiyu walked in happily. When Ning Feiyu heard this, he clenched his fist and whispered, You're cruel. Suren was counting the time outside. Suren took 2 steps and found that Ning Feiyu did not follow, so he couldn't help but look back. So, let's just say goodbye and contact you when the time comes. Suren ignored him and led him towards the direction of the teleportation array. Ning Feiyu followed Suren towards the teleportation array with a willing expression. Brother Su, can I hurry up? Less than half a quarter of an hour later, Ning Feiyu walked out with his arms around him, with some unfinished expression on his face. Ning Feiyu said anxiously. This thing is called the Life Stone. After injecting spiritual consciousness, you can use it to find my location. Why don't you leave? After Ning Feiyu said this, he handed Suren a golden stone. Suren nodded. Ningfei carefully glanced left and right, pulled Suren to the corner of the street and whispered. Don't take what I just said to heart. I am willing to go through fire and water for you. Let's go. Are you sure you don't want to go? Yes, it is indeed a bit excessive, but who can take the stone or not? If I give it to the saint, I don't know if she. I'm just going to send a message, okay? You are going to the martial arts temple. Stop, what are you afraid of? Ningfei swallowed and said anxiously, Brother Su, how about we say goodbye? Brother Su, you've gone too far. What? Is there a problem? Ningfei stood there dumbfounded. Ningfei interrupted Suren's words and said sternly. Ningfei nodded. Martial temple. Suren nodded upon hearing this. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 488. Wuhan City. The largest city under the rule of the god of war was located in the middle of the eastern wasteland. The entire city has a population of tens of millions and is an important economic exchange center in the eastern wasteland. Suren and Ningfei walked out of the teleportation array, only to find that the surroundings were surprisingly quiet. Huh? Why is there no one guarding the teleportation array? Brother Ning, it smells of blood. After Suren finished speaking, he covered his consciousness. It's okay not to look at it, but Suren frowned immediately when he looked at it. The entire Wuhan city seemed to have been cut in half by a huge sword. Buildings in the city collapsed, and countless bodies piled up on the streets. Wuhan city has become a dead city at this time. Suren looked at Ningfei. Ningfei also noticed the tragic situation in the city at this time, and his face looked a little ugly. The two looked at each other and flew towards the center of the city. Looking from a high altitude, the entire Wuhan city and a large mountain in the distance were cut in half with a sword. The sword intent penetrated hundreds of meters into the ground, and a huge and neat cut appeared on the ground. More than 90% of the people in the city were directly shocked to death by this domineering and ruthless sword. Judging from the appearance of the city, people must have been holding some kind of activity before the incident. Most people were on the street, so the streets were covered with corpses. Suren and the two fell to the edge of the abyss that was cut open in the city. Ningfei frowned and looked inside, saying in a deep voice. There is still a trace of aura left, this aura is very strong. Even if there is only a trace of breath left, those who are not in the seventh realm or above will not even dare to approach here. Suren looked at the men, women, and children lying in a pool of blood, and anger surged in his heart. This sword directly killed tens of millions of people. And it is an indiscriminate attack. Who is so crazy and wants to do such a cruel thing to the people of Wuhan City? Brother Su, have you ever felt the aura of the sword spirit? Where have you seen it? After Ningfei's reminder, Suren felt it again. The power of cause and effect. Wushuan Alliance. Ningfei nodded seriously. If my guess is correct, this is the power of the innate treasure, the Karma sword. Why did the Wushuan Alliance kill these people? Hearing this, Ningfei said in a deep voice. Maybe it's to take revenge on the god of war. Back then, before the war between Wandao Immortal Palace and the Wushuan Alliance began, the god of war had a close relationship with the leader of the Wushuan Alliance. But, for some reason, the martial god ended up siding with the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace. Moreover, more than hundreds of thousands of disciples and dozens of elders of the Wushuan Alliance died at the hands of the martial god. Even the leader of the Wushuan Alliance was slapped by the martial god. After hearing this, Suren said strangely. I don't think it's because the Wushuan Alliance wants to take revenge on the martial god. There must be other reasons. Those in the Wushuan Alliance do things for their own benefit. They don't deserve the reputation of massacring the city and killing so many innocent people. I suspect that they have something big to do. They killed these people to prevent anyone from escaping and reporting the news. This. Ningfei thought for a while and felt that it made sense. Also, isn't the martial god temple very close to this place? Didn't the martial god realize it? Ningfei shook his head, saying that he didn't know either. While the two were thinking, a slight sound sounded. One of the corpses tried to pull it out, and looked at the two of them as if they were seeing a savior, stretching out his hand and shaking it. The two men hurriedly walked over, dragged him out of the body, and helped him up. I practiced the turtle breath technique to avoid their search. You guys, quickly, inform Wandeo Immortal Palace, Wushuan Alliance wants to attack the martial arts palace. After the man finished speaking, he tilted his head and became completely silent. He is the lord of Wuhan City. I have met him once. Ningfei put his body down, then seemed to suddenly think of something, and flew straight east outside the city. Suren didn't understand what he was doing, so he flew over in a hurry. After catching up with him, Suren asked, Brother Ning, what are you doing? To notify Wandeo Immortal Palace, they should also take the teleportation array to other cities to deliver the news. Suren didn't understand why Ningfei flew out of the city. Ningfei explained while flying, I want to go to the martial temple to save people. Suren didn't ask any more questions after hearing this. The temple of martial arts is surrounded by mountains on three sides. Unlike other sect holy places, the main hall of the martial temple was built at the foot of the mountain. At this time, people were already completely surrounded outside the martial arts temple. Whether on the ground or in the sky, they are all densely packed with people from the Wushuan Alliance. If it weren't for the barrier protecting it, these people would have killed them long ago. Within the barrier, there are the disciples and elders of the martial arts temple and the master of the martial arts temple who are waiting in full formation. The god of martial arts ignored the affairs of the world and focused on practicing cultivation, so he left the god of martial arts to others. At this time, the god of war was invited to give a lecture and discuss the matter of mending the sky with the two palace masters of Wandeo Immortal Palace and Kinkingju Palace, so he was not here. The people of Wushuan Alliance saw this opportunity and took action decisively. In the sky, the thick clouds dispersed, and a huge face appeared there. Hand over the destiny spear, otherwise, I will kill you without mercy. Its sound is like thunder, and it seems that there is a Tao within it. After listening to it, people have the idea of taking the initiative to listen to this voice. The master of the martial arts temple glanced at the spear in his hand and wondered what he was thinking. Palace master, what should I do? Everyone looked at him. Now that the god of war is gone, they may not necessarily be opponents in the face of the Wushuan Alliance's massive invasion. Although they possess an innate treasure, the other party also possesses an innate treasure. They don't have an advantage. Has the message been sent? The master of the martial arts temple asked. An elder under his command nodded and said, the message has been sent to the 4 surrounding cities through the Tianji stone. But, there was no response. What? Hearing this, everyone felt their hearts go cold. Why is there no response? Did the people from the Wushuan Alliance use some means to intercept it? An elder asked. Impossible. The transmission of the Tianji stone cannot be intercepted. There is only one possibility. That means there are no more living people in the 4 surrounding cities. Their secret stone can only transmit it over such a long distance. No matter how far it is, it will not be received. In the sky, the protector Zhou of the Wushuan Alliance, wearing a black robe, sneered. Are you trying to drag me until reinforcements arrive? Stop dreaming, the people from the 4 cities have already gone down to wait for you. After hearing this, everyone suddenly became angry and cursed one after another. Wushuan Alliance, you are so inhumane. These dogs, let's fight them. The combined population of the 4 cities exceeded 100 million, but they were all killed. People from the Martial Temple also have families living in the four cities. Who wouldn't be angry when hearing this? Upon hearing this, the Zooprotector of the Wushuan Alliance sneered again. Ha ha ha, human nature. You god of war betrayed our Wushuan Alliance and killed hundreds of thousands of our disciples. How should we settle this account? The right guardian of the Wushuan Alliance bowed directly to the huge face and said, Leader, I think we should just take action. It's impossible for them to hand over the Destiny gun. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 489. Since he is stubborn, let's kill him. The huge human face slowly became smaller, and then a figure looking down at the world appeared there. This man is handsome, domineering and majestic. When the eyes opened, there seemed to be divine light shining inside them. Just by standing there, I felt an unparalleled pressure sweeping over me, making people feel like worshipping. Welcome to the Alliance leader. Outside the martial arts temple, shouts like a mountain roaring and a tsunami suddenly sounded. The leader of the Wushuan Alliance slowly drew out the sword in his hand, his eyes turned cold, and then he slashed at the barrier of the martial god temple with his sword. The powerful force of cause and effect exploded, and the protective barrier of the martial temple could not withstand such a strong impact. It fell apart in just an instant. But this sword was blocked. The leader of the martial arts temple held the Destiny spear and roared at the leader of the Wushuan Alliance. Xiang Yingtian, you used the sword of karma to kill hundreds of millions of innocent people indiscriminately. Evil causes will bring evil consequences. Aren't you afraid of suffering the backlash from the power of karma? The leader of the Wushuan Alliance smiled disdainfully upon hearing this. Backlash. The sword is a tool, and the power of cause and effect is also a tool. Tools are always just tools, how can they come back to bite me? I only believe that man can conquer nature. It's a pity that you lackeys of the 10,000 Deo Immortal Palace insist on believing in the theory of mending the sky. You have been mending the sky for thousands of years. You have wasted so many resources, but nothing has changed. Stop talking nonsense, don't think we are afraid of you. The leader of the martial arts temple held a gun in one hand and suddenly shot towards the leader of the Wushuan Alliance. Today, I will use the power of fate to tell you that your fate has been destined. You will bear evil consequences because of the evil causes you have planted. Xiang Yingtian snorted coldly. You are so stubborn, do you think the power of fate can affect me? The two fought together and headed straight to the sky. They all understand that a battle between two innate treasures here will only kill everyone else present. Only under the sky can withstand the aftermath of the battle between the two. As soon as the two left, the two guardians of the Wushuan Alliance waved their hands indifferently. Kill, leave no one behind. The people from the Wushuan Alliance immediately rushed into the martial arts temple and started fighting with the people from the martial arts temple. Boom! An old man slapped away the people of Yi Wushuan Alliance and came to the side of a girl who was fighting bravely to kill the enemy. Zhongling, find an opportunity to go and find Lord Martial God. You are very talented, and Martial God will rely on you in the future. But master, what about you? The girl was puzzled. The old man looked at the fighting crowd and sighed. Your master, I will not leave the martial arts temple alone. Let's go quickly and leave through the secret passage in the back mountain. Don't hesitate. The girl glanced at the old man and bowed deeply. She knew that even if she stayed, it would be of no use. The most important thing now was to tell the god of war the news and let him take action. Master, you must live. The girl turned around and ran into the palace, tears already flooding her eyes. Humph, no one can leave. Guardians of the Wushuan Alliance rushed into the palace and happened to see this scene. The old man slapped him with a palm, forcing him to stop. Try first to see if you can pass my test. Back then, I killed more than 2,000 people from your Wushuan alliance, and today, I will kill no less. Old man, if this is the case, I will kill you first. Less than a moment after the two men fought, a loud noise was heard from the sky. Boom! The huge explosion made both parties stop their hands and look up to the sky. I saw the figure of the master of the martial arts temple falling from the air at a high speed and hitting the ground hard, and the spear in his hand also rolled aside. Hall master! The people in the martial temple were shocked. Only a short time had passed before their palace master was defeated. After thousands of years of forbearance, once out of seclusion, the strength of the leader of the Wushuan alliance has reached an unimaginable level. The strength at the peak of the ninth realm may be good in the eyes of others, but in the eyes of this alliance leader, it is nothing more than that. No matter how powerful the innate treasure is, it can't save you. The figure of the leader of the Wushuan alliance fell from the sky, leaning down to pick up the destiny spear that fell on the ground. The master of the martial arts temple raised his body with difficulty and looked at the person in front of him, with a flash of disbelief in his eyes. He thought that with the destiny spear, he could delay for a long time, but the opponent was more powerful than he imagined. You have entered the divine realm. The leader of the Wushuan alliance put away the karma sword and the destiny spear and said calmly. Yes, you didn't lose unfairly. The leader of the Wushuan alliance looked at the many disciples of the martial arts temple and snorted coldly. Ah 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 ah. The god of war, whom I regard as my confidant, slapped me with a backhand. Xiang Yingtian, you deserve to die. An inexplicable force instantly penetrated their hearts. The leader of the Wushuan alliance looked at the old man and just waved his hand. After the leader of the Wushuan alliance muttered to himself, he looked at the elders who were still alive and said. Protector Zhou smiled evilly. After the leader of the Wushuan alliance finished speaking, he said coldly. This matter is not over yet. The old man in the late stage of the upper ninth realm exploded directly and died on the spot. Boom! The leader of the Wushuan alliance casually shook his hand, and all the elders who rushed over exploded into blood mist. Ha 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 ha, I was as desperate and helpless as you back then. Want to die? This alliance leader will help you. After this battle, the temple of martial arts became history. In just one breath, all the disciples of the martial arts temple died cleanly. When the other elders saw this, not only were they not afraid, but they went to kill the leader of the Wushuan alliance angrily. The leader of the Wushuan alliance shattered the space with one punch, then slowly walked into it and disappeared. You go first, I'll chase the girl who ran away. Become a slave of my Wushuan alliance and save you from death. Upon seeing this, other members of the Wushuan alliance evacuated the place, leaving only the master of the martial arts temple lying among the many corpses, crying angrily and desperately. Now that I have entered the divine realm, I have obtained 2 of the 4 great innate treasures. This time, I don't believe I will lose to you. This man is already dead. Let him lie down here and let's go. No, the master of the martial arts temple shouted desperately. Act recklessly. When the elders were silent, the old man who just let the girl go slapped the leader of the Wushuan alliance with his palm. Seeing this scene, the master of the martial arts temple struggled to stand up and fight with him, but he couldn't stand up at all. You're dreaming. Only a few elders were left looking at the scene with horrified faces. Without the help of the innate treasure, in his eyes, the upper ninth realm is just a slightly stronger ant. Thump. Great elder. Today, all of this is a great gift I give him. The leader of the Wushuan alliance looked at him and laughed loudly. As the first person fell, the rest of them fell to the ground with wide eyes and unwillingness. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 490. After Zhang Ling ran out of the back hill of Wu Temple, he flew straight towards the nearest Wuan city. She wiped away her tears as she flew, with only one thought in her mind, which was to tell the god of war the news as soon as possible. "Little girl, where do you want to go?" Hearing the cold voice, Zhang Ling looked back and saw that the man stopped by his master had already caught up with him. And the opponent's speed is much faster than his own. "Still want to run? Stop." Guardian Zhou slashed out with his sword, but Zhang Ling dodged it. "Huh? There's something." Protector Zhou was a little surprised. However, this hiding also completely shortened the distance between the two. Zhang Ling knew she couldn't run away, so she had to fight head-on. "Hey, you are the saint from the martial arts temple, right? It would be a pity to kill such a charming and beautiful girl. How about I make you feel comfortable before sending you on your way?" Ha ha ha. Zhang Ling glared at this person. "Evil thief, where is my master?" "Your master? Is that the old man who stopped me? I chased him out. Do you think he is still alive?" Hearing this, Zhang Ling felt filled with grief and anger, and punched the left guardian of the Wushuan alliance. Most of the people in the martial god's temple follow the example of the martial god in training their bodies and cultivating themselves, and do not like foreign objects. Even if there is an innate treasure like the destiny spear, the martial god has no use for it. Instead, he places it in the martial god temple to intimidate Xiao Xiao. As a saint of the martial arts temple, Zhang Ling naturally doesn't use weapons. "You want to hurt this protector with your weak punch? You are naive." Guardian Zhou reached out and grabbed Zhang Ling's fist, then slapped her chest with his backhand and slapped her away. "You dare to take action against me even if you are in the 8th realm." Protector Zhou smiled contemptuously and casually patted the dust on his sleeves. Zhang Ling fell to the ground and spit out a mouthful of blood. If the Zhou Guardian hadn't saved her hand, she would have died. Naturally, she also knew why the other party held back. Thinking of this, Zhang Ling slapped her palm again, but this time it was not slapped to the left protector, but to her own forehead. Even if she died, she would not let this man taint her. However, before the palm could be released, Protector Zhou reached out and grabbed her. "Hey, you want to commit suicide? Do you think you can commit suicide in front of me? Beauty, you are mine now, ha ha ha." The gap between the two sides was too big. Zhang Ling wanted to break away but couldn't. Zhang Ling was desperate. She didn't expect that she couldn't even commit suicide. "Zhang Ling." A roar sounded from the horizon, followed by a punch in the air. You again." Protector Zhou grabbed Zhang Ling to avoid the punch, his eyes full of anger. A few days ago, because of this kid's interference, the leader of the 10,000 Soul sect was arrested, and he was scolded by the leader for being incompetent. "Fiyu." Zhang Ling couldn't believe her eyes. Ning Fiyu took the initiative to appear beside her at this moment. In the past, she tried her best to find Ning Fiyu, but she didn't expect that the other party would come to save her as soon as she was in danger. "I knew you hadn't forgotten me, you had been paying attention to me secretly." Zhang Ling was so moved that she cried. Hearing Zhang Ling's words, Ning Fiyu was a little ashamed. If Suren hadn't pulled him here, he wouldn't have been able to set foot in the East Wasteland. But now is not the time to worry about this, but how to save people. Tisk tisk, it turns out we are still old friends, and we just happened to settle the accounts together today. Just as Guardian Zhou was about to take action, he noticed another person flying from the horizon. He had no impression of Suren, so he didn't pay attention to Suren, but focused on Ning Fiyu. This kid can defeat the leader of the 10,000 Soul sect by himself, even he doesn't dare to be too careless. That day, he was stabbed by the master of Tongtian Sword Mountain and was still injured. He was not in peak condition at this time. Zhang Ling was still in the hands of Protector Zhou, and Ning Fiyu did not dare to take action easily, so he sent a message to Suren. Brother Su, help. Needless to say, Suren had already taken action. The river god skill was activated, and when Guardian Zhou was still thinking about how to kill Ningfeiyu, he found that an invisible big hand seemed to appear in his body, holding him in place. Huh? This is it? Protector Zhou was horrified. What ability is this? Suren nodded slightly at Ningfeiyu, who saw this and killed him without hesitation. Not because of anything else, just because he believed in Suren. Guardian Zhou couldn't move and could only watch helplessly as Ningfeiyu punched him in the head. Boom! Guardian Zhou flew out, and Ningfeiyu grabbed Zhongling back in his hand. After receiving a solid punch from Ningfeiyu, Protector Zhou was still alive, but he couldn't move either. This made the panic in his heart become more and more intense. Zhongling, are you okay? Ningfeiyu looked up and down at the person in front of him. Zhongling shook her head and threw herself into Ningfeiyu's arms, tears pouring out uncontrollably. Feiyu, Martial God Temple. I know. Ningfeiyu gently patted her back to comfort her. In his impression, Zhongling was definitely not the kind of girl who liked to cry. Woo-oh. Humph, I don't know. Suren didn't ask any more questions after hearing this, but stood up and looked around. Apart from him, there was no one alive here. Thinking of this, Suren asked Jingling. Have you sensed the aura of the Destiny gun? I'll go over and take a look first, and you guys will follow me. But you came late, and they have already left. Ningfeiyu flew to Protector Zhou and lifted him up to Zhongling. Suren flew over the two of them toward the martial arts temple. Hey, are you crazy because of the stimulation? Zhongling angrily hit Guardian Zhou to vent her anger. They have dared to grab the Destiny gun so openly. It seems that they will make a big move soon. Protector Zhou couldn't move and could only watch helplessly as a small Shangbajing beat him to a pulp with one punch after another. He was a person who was close to the peak of the 9 realms, but he died in such a miserable way. Suren walked to a pile of corpses and looked at a man with disheveled hair crying softly and asked. You are still alive. You are getting bolder and bolder. Do you believe that I will throw you out now? After hearing this, the two people hurriedly separated. Today, the blow to her may have been too great. Half an hour later. Zhongling, come and do it yourself. Suren landed at the entrance of the martial arts temple. Except for a pile of corpses, there was no trace of anyone else. I'm useless, I can't protect them. The master of the martial arts temple slowly raised his head when he heard the sound. He didn't know how many punches he had punched, but Zhongling finally got tired. The Protector Zhou in front of him was no longer human. They're all dead, I'm a waste, I'm a waste. These dogs from the Wushuan Alliance are really cruel. Suren frowned and sighed at the man who was now crying and laughing. Humph, I sensed it, and there is still the aura of the Karma sword, okay. The Destiny gun is gone, dead, haha. You. Jingling was still sulking because his position was robbed. The entire martial arts temple was killed. Also, is the Destiny gun he mentioned an innate treasure? I told you to, that person is not dead yet.